Here we go, Jen. Welcome to a crazy day of what's going on today.
How's it going? Crazy everywhere, I think.
Crazy. We got it's like the world just got reversed on us. It's snowing tomorrow, and we found out, kind of mid-morning that the guests that we had lined up unfortunately got double booked for today. So we do what we do best, and that's just pivot.
Yeah, we figured it out. It'll be okay.
It'll be okay. It's always okay. And here's the crazy thing is, while we're doing that, the system that we normally stream on is also down. So we had Rogers down yesterday. It's snowing tomorrow. The streaming service is down, and we're using our backup system, but it's all good. It's all good.
We're just working out all the kinks. That's all.
That's right. So I'm clicking buttons here and I totally forget how to use this system, but we'll make it work. All I know is we got an amazing guest. A lot of you will recognize them. We'll leave it at that. Let's roll the intro. Then we'll bring our guest on and we'll just get right into it. It's what we do.
Sounds good. I love it.
Okay. Beautiful. So I normally throw it to you to introduce the guest. Are you going to throw it back to me to introduce the guest, or what are we going to do today?
I am going to throw it back to you, Gary. You know this person a lot longer than I do, and probably a little bit better. I could give him a stellar intro, but I would hear what your introduction is going to be.
Now you're putting me on the spot, and we should probably just leave him in the green room for half an hour here. Yeah. It is my utmost pleasure. How about that? As I got him drinking a glass of water, Mr. Sir Colin Campbell, my partner in crime on many levels, and of course, our co-host of the Not So Black White Real Estate podcast. Shameless plug. Sorry, Jen. And
I'm getting used to it.
Yeah. Colin, welcome on this side of the show. Now, we got to set some ground rules before I get into, your backstory a little bit. You are a guest on today's show. You are not a host. Do not be asking us questions. Jen and I will not be answering them.
It's funny because when Gary said that I'm going to come on, I said, Gary, I'm going to start asking you questions. He's like, no, don't. You're on the other side. So
don't flip the script.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Okay. So who's Colin Campbell? I'll give you my version, and then we'll ask Colin for his version, and then Jen will probably figure it out somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So I met Colin. Colin and I have known of each other probably for at least 10 or 11 years. Yeah. Funny thing though, we didn't meet until our worlds collided at Keller Williams, which is the funny thing, about 7 or 8 years ago. And when somebody sits down in front of you, you're like, you know that guy? I know that guy. You know her? I know her. Like, we don't know how we've never met before. And since then, we've done many things together. Of course, our podcast, business relationships, our families get together, all sorts of stuff. I'm proud to call Colin a true friend. A true friend. I'm not even sure what that means.
I don't know, but if I was one of your other friends, I'd be worried.
Seriously, I'm going to start getting lots of texts now. Okay, am I the untrue friend or the true friend? Hey, depends on the day. That's all I got to say. Colin is one of our top producers, mega agents at Keller Williams Realty Centers. I've watched him grow a business as a brand new agent to one of the top realtors in the industry. And Colin, it is truly a pleasure not only to be in business with you, but of course being a friend, and of course one that we can joke around with lots, which as you know is near and dear to my heart. I love having a good time, and I can have that with you.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jen and Gary. I know you guys have reached out before. Schedules never aligned. And today when Gary said, he's like, what are you doing at 2:30? I was like, well, I have an appointment at 1 to 2. So yeah, 2:30 I'm free. So it just worked out. So thank you so much for having me, guys. I truly appreciate it.
Okay. I got one question, Jen, and then you can kind of take the lead here too, because like we said earlier, I know Colin. I can I can probably do this interview for him, but that's no fun. Okay. Give us the backstory. Like there was a Sir Colin before real estate. So take us on a short journey before real estate, and then we can get into all the other fun stuff.
Okay, Sir Colin, where did that come from? It's funny because so many people ask me that, and most of the times I never answer it. However, since I'm on your show, I will try and answer it. I think after I left school, high school, I was youth ambassador for the Caribbean. So I did a lot of youth work internationally, represented Guyana and the Caribbean on almost every continent there except Antarctica. Just with youth work, youth development, creating employment opportunities for young people. And everywhere I went, I was being referred to as Sir Colin. And I think it was in Australia, and a lot of the English delegates, they just kept referring to me as Sir Colin. So at that point, it stayed. And I think it was around 1999 or 2000 where I first signed up for email. And I was like, okay, I'm using Sir Colin Campbell as my email address. And after I signed up, almost instantly, if not within the first half an hour of me signing up, I receive a Clan Campbell invite, family reunion invite for the Clan Campbell in Scotland, and they're inviting me for a family reunion. So at that time, my wife and I were dating, and I said, babe, I just received this invite to Clan Campbell reunion. And she looked at me, she's like, I would send a photo of yourself if I were you. Just to make sure they know you were from the darker side of the family. However, the name Sir Colin, who knows? It's a brand. I think over time it's evolved into, a brand of who I am. So now when people talk about Sir Colin, you're not wondering which Colin Campbell they're talking about. They're talking about me. And since then I've gone with it. So love it. It's funny because I once wanted to change my name legally to Sir Colin. And my wife is like, there's no way I'm calling you Sir Colin. Not in a million years. So.
And a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your wife.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Perfect. Okay, Jen, lead away here, and I'll pick up on your cues.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to start from the perspective. Obviously, Colin, you're a leader in our company, in Keller Williams Realty Centers and all that. However, there are people that watch the show that aren't a part of KWRC and that don't know, your trajectory or your business or what that looks like. So what I would love to start with is a little bit of insight into your path as an agent from, when you started to growing that vision of the team to where you are now, where you have one of the biggest teams and you've got your two admins and all of that structure that you built into it and the models you follow. Like, what did that path look like? And, what were the hurdles you experienced along the way?
Before I got into real estate, I've always been in business. I've been a district manager at different places. The truth, however, after a while, I hated it. And it was no longer fun to do. And because my wife and I, we've been investing now for 18 years, and Gary and I, we've crossed paths many times at different events, I decided almost the day after I handed in my resignation, after driving around with it in my car for almost 6 months, I decided real estate is what I wanted to do. And I started studying intensely for my real estate license. No one told me I didn't have to get 98 or 99 in every exam. So I was literally going at it like if my life depended on it, which it actually did. So really got into real estate. And I think it was one of my first weeks in, attended a session that was put on by Tom Mitchell. And he spoke about how he door knocked and how he's just been diligent with that every single day. And I was like, this is easy. So at that point, after that session, I committed every day for a year with times where I didn't have to work, obviously Sundays, but I door knocked every day for an entire year. whether it was a snowstorm or whatever it is. Because at that point, I didn't have anything else to do. I had left an amazing job with car, credit cards, all of that. And now I have to go out there and create my own paycheck every single day. And because my family made a sacrifice for me to, pursue something that I love, I want to make sure that I never first let them down. And I'm going to do exactly as I say I would do. So I went out there every day. I door knocked. I remember, role playing with my kids, and I would knock at the door and they would answer. And one time my daughter said, "What do you want?" And then slammed the door again. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're not supposed to do that." She's like,
No, she was just being her daughter.
Yeah. "What do you want?" Slam the door. I was like, "Oh." So she's like, "Now tell me, how do you react in a situation like that?" And they just help me build a tough skin, but also realize like they're the ones that I'm doing this for, right? And they really helped me. They poured into me. Obviously, my family was that foundation. And throughout Keller Williams, a lot of people have poured into me and have helped me along the path that I'm on. So for me to be sitting here 7 years later, and yes, you hit all these accolades, there's no way I could have done it without the support and the mentorship and the encouragement from the people along the way, within the business and outside of the business. So for me, I'm very grateful for that. So who am I? I'm just first a husband, a father to 2 kids, a real estate agent. I'm looking at just being the best version of myself. And that is what I'm going after every single day. I know it's a very long-winded answer.
No, it's good. That's a good answer. It keeps you from asking us.
I do have a comment there, Jen. I remember, I don't know if it's the same moment, but at least it is for me. Do you remember when, Colin, you said at least out loud to your peers that, hey, you wanted to create and form a team or a partnership? Do you remember that moment? I do.
Really? Tell me about it.
I do. And I thought, yeah, so here's Colin. We're driving back from a golf tournament in Hamilton. Yes. And do you remember what you said? We're both sitting, I'm sitting in the front seat, you're driving. Yes. The other 2 bozos are sitting in the back because that's exactly what they were from a golf tournament, put 2 and 2 together, right? Do you remember what you said?
What did I say? But I remembered it. I remember us driving back and we were talking about it.
Yeah. So I remember Colin precisely saying, I think I want to create a partnership or a team. And I'm thinking, I'm in the driver's seat, after our long day of sun, and I'm kind of tired as well. I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But isn't it? Yeah, and Jen and I always talk about in some of the meetings that we have. It's so monumental how one phrase can totally change the trajectory of where you go. Anyways, I was just reminiscing about that.
No, and you're absolutely right, Gare, because after I said that, I think then is when I really started to work purposefully on it. And without even knowing, I think I partnered with Anthony Allen. For those of you who don't know Anthony Allen, a mentor of mine, a dear friend, passed away a few years ago, lung cancer. But this is someone who's been in the business 27 years, 26 plus years at the time. And he's taught me a lot. And without even knowing that was the first partnership to come, I put that out there. And I'm truly someone who believes in writing their goals down and going after their goals. So I literally said that at that moment in time. And it seems like my body started to work towards that. And then Tony and I, we created a partnership for a while. And then unfortunately, he passed through to cancer. However, what I learned during that time with him is invaluable.
Yeah, I love that. And I know from my experience just with the times we've worked together with
Yes.
Keller Williams YP and some
Yes.
of the other projects and things you've been involved in, I know how laser focused you get when you have a goal, right? Like we've joked about it a couple times because he kind of tends to tune everything else out. And so what I wanted to get with here is that you have achieved that. You have built a team. You've got, a couple of agents, and you've got your admins, and I know that you're looking to grow that even further and create more leverage. And we haven't really yet on our show talked about teams at that level. And so could you give us some insight into, what does your team look like? And then also, what does it take to be on your team and in that environment from your leadership perspective?
For us right now, where we're at, we have 2 admins, we have 2 agents, including myself. There's 2 more candidates that we're interviewing. So we're going to see where they fall, if they eliminate themselves in the interview process or the talent selection process. So we're in conversations. However, like you said, Jen, the purpose is to grow and to build something beyond myself. And it's to build something where I know we can achieve more, because Colin on his own can only do so much. Any individual agent can only do so much. And I truly believe when we come together and we form a partnership, we'll be able to achieve way more than any individual can on their own. So that's the business aspect of it. But also, how do we create something much bigger and create a legacy where we can create wealth and build wealth along the way? So it's not just focusing on the team, but how we can help each one of our business partners focus on their own lives and how they can build and generate wealth. Part of our business planning at the end of last year was, okay, here are your real estate goals. Here are all the things that our business partners would like to achieve. But at the same time, we had a conversation for over an hour of what are the side hustles that you're going to pick up in 2021, right? And share that now with the team. And how do we hold you accountable to that? How do we create multiple streams of income? So a lot of us as the team, that is what we're focusing on, and where we can see real estate as just one stream of income. What is it we're looking for in our partners? People who are hungry, people who are humble, and people who know how to hustle, right? And most importantly, heart over head, smarts, right? EQ versus IQ. So it's that simple. I don't think we need to complicate it, and it's making sure that we're the right fit, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on, Jen, one of the neat things that I've witnessed you do, Colin, maybe we can just shed some more light on it, is you'll have people, you'll open up your arms to anyone that wants to come into your world, in a sense.
Absolutely.
However, there's a bit of self-discovery that happens alongside of that, right? And I've seen, and we've had discussions around, is that the person, or is this the right fit, or am I the right fit for that person? But I like how you do it. Talk to us about that self-discovery bit and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The action that you are expecting people in your world to take.
Well, for us, Gary, I think it's the Jim Rohn quote that says, you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. So for me, my personality has been just give and help as many people. You can ask me about any one of our team contracts, any of that. I'll gladly share it with you. All the systems that we spent the last 4 or 5 years implementing, I'll give that to anyone. Because at the end of the day, I know I share that with somebody else. We become better as an industry. So that's one aspect of it. And more importantly, it's having that conversation and exploring with anyone that we might think it's the right fit. But there are certain standards that we accept as a team, and there are certain standards that our team members or a business partner expect of each other. So yes, we could start the conversation, but 2 weeks in or 3 weeks in, you're going to find out very quickly if this is the pace you want to go with, right? Because if everyone is going at 120 miles an hour, and you want to coast at 60, you're going to quickly self-discover like, maybe I'm running with, I don't know. It's a different group that I should be a part of.
Right.
So that is how we do it. So we encourage people to, spend some time with us before we even agree to work together. Let's test drive this car. Let's check under the hood to make sure we're right. And then as long as it's a good fit, then we talk about partnership.
I love that. That's a great piece of advice, right? It's like, let's date before we get married.
Yeah, yes.
It's a good idea. Okay, I want to shift a little bit and just get back to more of like business right now, because obviously we're all being impacted with COVID and restrictions and all that's going on. And you've traditionally been as you mentioned, a heavy lead gen, door knocking, cold calling, all that stuff. So what are you guys doing as a team right now to lead generate, to make up for the fact that we can't do some of those activities? And what are those results looking like?
For us, lead gen part, we're still on the phones. We're heavy on the phones. And I know I spoke about door knocking before. Within my first year and a half, I quickly realized the more contacts I made, the more contracts I wrote. So contacts equals contracts. And I switched over to the phone almost immediately, and I haven't looked back since. So we're still on the phone. COVID hasn't really affected us. Even a year ago when this was all new, it was just reaching out to everyone. How are you doing? How are your family doing? This is just a care call. So we weren't necessarily affected by it. However, we're started to see over the last 3-4 years, every year we're losing about 12% of our telephone numbers because everyone is getting rid of telephone numbers. It's all going to cell phone.
Right.
So with that, we started to work heavily on our database to make sure referrals are coming in from our database and our business partners. So that is one aspect of it. And we started to purposefully look at social media and how we can generate business from social media.
Yeah.
So those are 3 pillars right now that we're working with.
I have noticed your social media game has stepped up a little bit. You guys have some good content these days. I specifically like the ones with you and Jason personally. But just going back to that for a second, with COVID, and I know you didn't change your method of lead gen, but how did your scripts change? How did your conversations, moving past the care call conversation, into September, October, through the winter months, and now into wave 3, I guess, of lockdown? What are those calls looking like these days?
Well, the call is basically just to explore who's considering a real estate move. And you want to get that message across in the shortest time possible. So, hi, this is Colin from your local real estate team. We're just reaching out to the neighbors to see, are you considering making a real estate move this year? That's it. It's that simple. A lot of them are going to say no, but then we're going to have some hesitations. We're going to have some, yes, call me back. And these are the ones we start to nurture and we work with.
So, okay, there's a good follow-up question there because nurture is follow-up. So talk to us a little bit about, nice segue, right, Jen? You like that?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well done, Gary. Anyways, back to the question. What does a nurture look like in this kind of COVID time? Is it phone calls? Is it, obviously we can't do drop-ins like we used to. What does that look like?
For us, it's a lot of phone calls. We've added a lot of video to it as well. So it's, hi, Jen. I know we just spoke on the phone. I just wanted to send you a quick video so you can put a face to the name. Here are my digits at the bottom. Any questions you have with regards to real estate or anything where it comes to your home, reach out and let me know. My team and I will gladly help. And that's a quick 30 seconds video that we'll email to you almost 5 minutes after we get off the phone. So now, and then I set a follow-up. It will be most likely within a week, 2 weeks time. Hi, Jen, we spoke 2 weeks ago. Just wanted to reach out to you, make sure you got the email that I sent you. Do you have any questions for us? Have you had a chance to check out our website? Check us out on social media. Follow us. All right. And then you start building that relationship. A nurture for us is anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So these are the ones that we're going to start working with to cultivate a relationship.
And what I want to point out there, Jen, and I know you're good at this with your coaching clients, is the repetition, consistency, and how often you're contacting your database. And I'm always reminded of when we were at family reunion, right? And our dear friend Kelly Manateas dragged us over. We're like, where the heck are you taking us?
Yeah.
We just want to walk and chill.
Yeah.
And she goes, you need to listen to this. Do you remember what this was?
Yes. It was Diane Kokosa's husband. What's his name?
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, Tony DeCello.
Yeah.
And he spoke about your database. And, we are in Amazon's database. And Amazon is touching us how many times a year, right? If not 100 times a year, right? If not daily. And we're afraid to reach out to our clients 33 times a year. That was mind blowing for both Gary and I. We saw like a floodlight went off. Forget about a light bulb.
Yeah.
The floodlights went off. We're like, whoa.
Yeah. The stadium lights came on.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, we need to up this game and reach out more, whether it's text. So it's mixing that up with email, of course, which is very boring. So now you add video into that, which can spice it up a bit. Obviously, there's your social media. But there's texts, there's phone calls, there's postcards and stuff like that. So you're in constant communication with your data bank, where you can become top of mind when it comes time to sell. I mean, here is a perfect example. A month ago, I'm coming down to the end of the month, and I was like, holy smokes, I'm off on my goal in terms of the amount of listing agreement that I need to sign every month. And I was off by one, and I think I had like 5 more days to go. And I was like, I don't know where this is coming from. Reaching out to my database and said, guys, I need your help. I need one referral that I can sign this week. Reached out to my brother, who lives 2 doors down from me. Obviously, he knows I'm in real estate. He sent me numerous businesses throughout the year. And I said, Curtis, I need your help. I need one person who's looking to sell this week that I can get into conversation with. He said, you know what? Give me an hour. And he calls me back. He said, I'm working on a house right now. These guys, they were about to sign with someone. He said, I asked them to just give you a call or just give you a try first. I reached out to them almost instantly. I reached out to them at 1:00, set the appointment to meet with them at 3:00, showed up, signed the listing at 3:30. The point of that is not to impress you in any way with, I was able to sign a listing, but it's reminding our database that we need their help and we need business from them. If I didn't make that call to my brother, there's no way he would have stepped up and say, guys, I know you have an agent here right now, but before you sign, just meet this guy. Just meet him. And they were just blown away by it. So
no, that's amazing. So there's 2 things that I'm learning from that, Jen, is one, obviously don't be afraid to ask your database for business. Second, if you need a deal, call Curtis.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I love speaking of rolling back the clock a little bit to the social media posts, Curtis, I've used Curtis on my homes to do renovations and so forth. He's very talented, awesome what he does. I love some of the posts that you guys did over the last few weeks of like, this guy does real estate, this guy does renovations. Together, we just get the home sold.
Yes.
It was so brilliant.
Yeah.
Just having fun with it, right? Just having fun with it.
Well, that's just it.
You know what? It is such a funny thing because we talk about that, you're being authentic in your social media and how you're going to connect with more people and get more engagement by doing that. And when we try to make it more contrived, we have less of, we get reach, but we don't have the shares and the comments and the engagement. And it's such a funny thing because I've seen your social media for a long time. Like since I've known you, I've followed your social media. And in the last couple of months is the first time I've ever been had the mindset of being I want to reply to that. I think I did. I replied to one. And there was another one where I laughed to myself. It was one of the brothers ones. I what you guys were doing in the video or post, but it made me laugh. And it's like I was actually like I wanted to engage in that conversation. Yeah. So you know, it just goes to show you that doing something fun and authentic, because it is more your personality. Even though a lot of people don't know that about you, it is a big part of your personality, and it shows out. It shows up, right? And so it gives you that want to kind of go, hey, I want to get to know that guy better. I want to talk to that guy. I want to engage in that. So I thought that was pretty. Now that we've come around to that, I thought that was pretty cool.
I appreciate that, because so many times, you know, we look at it as like, this is the way I need to be for social media or for the public. And I can only be the best version of myself. So just do that. Just go out there and have fun, and, you know, make mistakes and let the world laugh at you as well. So, yeah,
absolutely. And I think you just nailed it without maybe realizing it. When we start to think, who do I need to be in a social media world, we've disconnected already before you even put the post out there. So it's just, you know, when you have that moment of, I just want to post this, or this will be funny, let's try this. That's the stuff that's going to get you to where you need to go, right? And even, you know, we talked with Stevie a couple of weeks ago, and her TikTok and how that's getting all blown up and crazy. And she's just being herself. If you watch the video, she's actually quite funny, and she's very engaging, but she does it in a way that's very authentic to her. It's her personality, it's her energy, it's her vibe, and people relate to that. So I think the more we get caught up in the semantics of how we look, the more of a disservice we're doing to our business. It's
Absolutely.
An interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Interesting.
Beautiful. So we're through one quarter of the year, and now even like 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks into the first, or what am I trying to say? The second quarter. And you mentioned earlier about staying on track for your business. I can tell you, but I want you to tell our audience how important it is to keep track of your numbers and keep track of your progress so you hit your goals. I think that's an important conversation that, quite frankly, realtors don't have enough and don't hold themselves accountable to it enough. I'd love to kind of open that can of worms for a couple of minutes.
For me, it's a commitment that I make to myself. It's a commitment that I made to my family. It's a commitment I made to the team. Obviously, when we planned for 2021, and we said, okay, this is the amount of, you know, transaction we needed to do for the team for 2021. This is the amount of GCI. We figured COVID might be gone by then. And then we started the new year, and we're like, okay, this is our goal, but let's just break it down into 90 days period, because who knows what next 6 months will look like? Who knows what next year will look like? I can only focus in short spurts. And Jen, you alluded to that earlier. So it's putting my head down to say, okay, over the next 30 days, this is what we're going to do. And this is all we need to focus on. And knowing that, it now becomes manageable, but at the same time, you need to measure it. Because if you're not measuring your progress or your success, it'll be a shot in the dark. Every time you decide, you know, you're going to drive to the office, you're going to drive home, you're going to drive to Costco, you know, when I hit Yonge Street, I need to turn right, I need to turn left, I need to go here, I need to go there. You're measuring yourself. It's the same with a goal. Your goal is here, and your GPS is the one that is going to get you there. And it's going to tell you, okay, you're way off track, which you need to recalibrate. Anytime I'm going to a brand new destination, I punch it into Waze, and Waze tells me exactly where I need to go. Okay, 2 miles, and then I turn left. Then I turn right after, you know, half a kilometer, and I keep going. And I know I use miles and kilometer like that in the same sentence.
Same difference.
Same difference. This is so the Americans and the Canadians can relate. But there's a method to the madness. However, with Waze, it's telling me exactly what I need to do because I've never gone there before. It's the exact same thing when I set a goal that I've never achieved before. I need to punch that into my GPS. And at Keller Williams, obviously, we have our 135, your one being your goal, your P, as in the GPS, your P being your priorities, and the S being the strategies to get you there. So that is something that we're looking at constantly to make sure that we're making those little tweaks and change that is needed. Because if my goal is to sell 5 homes, okay, if my goal is to list 5 homes this month, and I have 2 more days to go in the month, and I only have 1 listing, it's almost impossible for me to get 4. I should have known that, 3 weeks in, to know every week I need almost 1.5 listings, or 1.25 listings. So maybe 1 week I'll have to have 2, and then the others will 1. That is what planning and constantly evaluating your goals does for you.
That's smart. Yeah. And you got to keep track of your daily habits too, right? Because just as you said, Colin, you'll know whether or not you're going to hit your goal by really the first to second week of the month. If you've got your business rolling at a pace that you need to have it rolling at or moving at. Yeah, that's good insight.
But further to that, Gary, and sorry to cut you off there, but further to that, I can only control what I have control over. Right. Meaning, the main thing I have control over every day is my lead generation habits. No one can take that away from me. So whether it's COVID, whether it's a hurricane, we're supposed to have a snowstorm tomorrow, it doesn't matter. I have control over my habits, and my habits are, I come into the office and I lead generate. However, over time, I've learned to trust the process. By lead generating, I have leads to follow up on, these nurtures. After I have these nurtures to follow up on, I can book an appointment. After I book these appointments, X amount of appointments will give me a signed listing. After I have a signed listing, I'm going to now sell that home, which means money in the bank. So at any time I'm looking at my bank account and I realize there isn't enough money in that bank account, it needs to go back to the only thing I have control of is my lead generation. So everything starts and stops with lead generation.
I like it.
I love that. That's great. That's a great way to phrase it. I'm going to totally shift the gears a little bit from this conversation, because I know that there's been a lot of talk lately about KW and going public and what that means. And I want to say IPOs, but here's the thing. I know nothing about this. It is not an area that I understand or have spent a lot of time in. And I know both Gary and Colin, you have some understanding of it. So what does that mean? It's like for the rest of us there that are new to this conversation, what does that mean for us as agents, and what is that process? What does that look like?
We're like, okay, you answer. No, you answer. No, you answer. Okay, here's how we'll do it, Colin. I'll do it from the perspective of why KW would look at it. Maybe you tackle the perspective of why, or what does that mean, as Jen just eloquently asked. What does that mean to us or even people in the industry? So maybe that's a good way to kind of tackle this conversation. First and foremost, we have no inside information. Let's just kind of put that out there. Nor Colin, Jen, myself, or any other KW leader at this moment knows if we're going to go public or not. It has been suggested that we're looking at 3 different ways to generate funds, and by going public, a company will go public to do so, to generate funds, so they can go invest back into the company for different various reasons. Why would KW do that? Well, especially after Gary Keller, if you follow Gary Keller, he's been saying for years, I will never go public. He shared a story a few weeks ago with the leadership of KW. He said, there once was a time that I said I would never franchise the company. And boy, are we glad he ever decided to go against that, because think about there would have just been one KW office in Austin, and that would have been it. And that decision, when somebody sat him down and got to show him the bigger picture, or maybe explained it to him differently on how he could, because remember, Gary Keller just loves to help agents and support agents. And this was a way, franchising was a way to accelerate that. So, you got to move with the times. And we've talked about that many times. You can stay with what's working today, but that's not necessarily going to get you to where you want to go tomorrow. So let's circle back to why KW would look at doing that now and going public and raising funds. And then Colin can explain perhaps what that means to us as individuals and as a company. There are other companies around us with a tremendous amount of public and public resources to do acquisitions, to invest in different software, to invest in the company. And when you are a privately held company, you only have X amount of resources at your fingertips. And while be it over the last number of years, KW has been able to remain at the #1 spot for agent count, production volume, everything like that worldwide. Just as I said, you can't remain doing the same thing and stay at that #1 or stay ahead of the game. And when you've got some big players out there that are aligning themselves with other big players, you can watch on the sidelines, or you can get in the game or stay in the game. And Gary Keller wants to make sure that KW stays in the game. So by going public is certainly one way to do that. And Colin and I have had these discussions in the past. Both Colin and I hate using the word dabble. We invest in the stock market, so we have some understanding of what that looks like. Are we professionals? No. But are we leveraging some of our knowledge and our peers' knowledge? Yes. So we do follow it to some extent. And there is a huge opportunity there. I'm sure Colin can fill us in some of the gaps that I'm missing here, but just an incredible opportunity to go public at this current time. Colin, what am I missing? I know there's lots there, and I purposely left some out, but
for me, you didn't leave anything out, because at the end of the day, it's opportunity. It creates opportunity. Every company that has gone public, they've gone so to raise money, right? Apple could have stayed a privately held company. There's no way Apple could have been able to do all the great things that they've done and expanded so fast and grow to almost one of the biggest players now in the cell phone industry, right? Apple has done that because it's taken, and I know I'm using an Apple explanation with an Android analogy, which is totally messed up, but I love my Android. However, here is the company Apple, and they've just basically split it up into parts. Now, the average, anyone who owns a share now owns a small portion of that company. It's the same thing if and when Keller Williams goes public. Jen, you'll be able to own a small portion of the company, where now you can invest $100, and who knows, in 5 years, you'll see that money, go to what? Since we're on the example of Apple, when the iPod first came out, I remember, because I was at Best Buy at that time, it was being sold for $4.99. If someone had taken $4.99, $500, and bought Apple shares at that time versus an iPod, today they would have had over $92,000 in their account just by invested $500, in 2006, 2004, during that time. Someone who purchased that iPod, 2 years later, it was obsolete. And then, Motorola and Samsung, they came out and they started saying, well, whatever the iPod is doing, we have all of that on our phone. So things like that change, time change, but investing in a company that you work with and you own, it just creates more opportunities. Now you can start looking at that as an added stream of income, where you were to put aside, $1,000 a year, $1,000 out of every deal that you make, now you were to buy shares into that company. So many of us use Apple products. How many of us own Apple, as in a piece of that company? So, well, I know you do. I know you do.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize that was a rhetorical question.
So for me, at the end of the day, what it means for us as agents, it just creates more opportunities, and it allows us to raise massively higher amount of money that now we can go out there and buy other companies. Let's say X company is selling at $2 billion. We can literally write a check and say, now here you go. Now we own you. Right. And we can become that juggernaut, just like Apple has done, just like, Tesla has done. Exact same thing.
Yeah, no, it's without getting into like the true semantics of it. When Colin and I follow different IPOs and different companies coming to having their public offerings, they're coming to the table and having their public offering with huge amounts of debt, and they're still getting incredible valuations. And what we love about KW is they have zero to little debt. And the largest real estate broker in the world has just come off their best year ever, and also one of the best quarters that they've ever had. Actually, it's the best first quarter that they've ever had. That's just fueling the fire. And I don't want to, get everyone's hopes up on what that valuation could be if it does become public. But just, the ball is in our court. Maybe that's a fair way to say it on what that could be. And maybe, as Colin said, maybe there's going to be opportunity for us as agents to own part of that company. I've been fortunate to be a part of an IPO before, and not every IPO is a home run, but there's typically maybe a single or a double in there, and there is tremendous amount of financial opportunity here for our agents. We always talk about generating wealth, creating wealth for others and for ourselves. This is going to be one of those other opportunities for sure. And
for me personally, everything indicates that we might most likely go there. However, my wife will tell you I've been wrong many times, so we'll see if I'm right or wrong on this one. But with that being said, at some point, if the stars line up that we are going that way, we definitely need to educate our agents in how this can benefit them, and maybe that little monies that they might have saved in the bank, which they're really not making anything on, invest it in an IPO like this. Obviously, there are risks involved with it, but here is a company that you've been with for how many years? There's zero debt. We have the real estate brokerage side of it. We have an appraisal company. We have the mortgage associated with it. We have the AI associated with it. So Keller Williams, we know it. There's so many different parts of it that on its own can be very successful. Now, all of that is under one umbrella. Why not own a piece of it, as in owning stocks, shares in the company? So that's how I see it.
Yeah, the big O word, opportunity. We like that.
Opportunity.
We like that. And you know what? Like, we've all been, so Jen, you've been with KW, I think the longest. Yes, definitely the longest. But
yeah, I'm trying to think. I joined in 2007.
Yeah. Yeah. But over that time, like, Jen, wouldn't you agree? Like, it just keeps, not reinventing them. KW doesn't keep reinventing itself, but it keeps adding tools to the tool belt, right?
Yeah.
And it keeps shifting. For a while, right? Gary Keller said we were a tech company, and everyone kind of laughed at him. Well, what has everyone done? They've all become tech companies, just like Apple did years ago. They became a music company.
Yeah.
Well, they actually became, a tech company that happened to sell music, right? Mm-hmm. And that's simply, that's how the real estate world adapts and changes and so forth. I think it's a really cool opportunity.
Yep.
Well, it's a growth journey, right? Being with KW as long as I have, I've certainly seen it go through its waves of, mindset and shift. And sometimes when you reflect back on it, I always equate it to your own personal journey of growing up, right? Where it's like, you know, in your infancy, you know what your world is, you know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. Then you learn a little more, you get a bit more exposure, you grow up, you go to high school, whatever. Your mindset changes, your understanding of things change, your outlook changes. It's no different for a business, right? And if we're not growing and changing, we're stagnant. And I'm more concerned if we were the same KW now that we were in 2007, because I mean that would be we're no longer relevant.
Relevant.
What's
Yeah.
relevant? Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not relevant, right? What are we doing? What happened? Where did our leadership go? How are we stuck in 2007? Like it's 2021, right? So I think that growth and that change has to occur in order for us to stay ahead of the game. And for anybody, for your own business, as agents, we talk about this in coaching all the time. Like, what did you do to grow today? Right? What did you read? What conversation did you have? What gratitude did you give? What mindset did you have that allowed you to grow a little bit or have a better conversation or whatever that looks like? If you're not thinking that way, you're going to get stale, right? You're going to get stuck. So, you know, and I think it's huge for Gary Keller to come out and say, yeah, you know what? I did say that. He's been preaching that for a long time. It was one of the first things I said, Gary, when you told me. I was like, wait a minute, what? He said we would never do that. But you know, obviously there's recognition and understanding that we got to take a different path sometimes. So I think it's important to understand that that's the process, but also important for us to educate everybody, because as much as you guys have given phenomenal answers, and I love the insight you gave, I still don't know how to do it, right? It's like, so we have to have that educational piece too, is what's that process? What does that mean? How do you do that? And start educating people on those investment opportunities.
Yep.
Well, that's what's great too, Jen, is like, you know, even your coaching clients and your experience, like we have enough people, enough of the right people in our world at KW here and outside of that to get that expertise and to ask questions and to learn from each other. That's the one thing that I just love with the people that are surrounding us, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And when they're not here, we can find them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a great network, right? KW or non-KW, we have great relationships and great opportunity to open the door and go, hey, come teach us that. How'd you do that? Right. I want to know, right? As Colin said, right? Can I have your listing presentation? Yeah, sure. Awesome. I want to go sign a listing in 30 minutes. So yes. Come tell me what you did. That's the meeting we're going to have after this meeting.
Nice. Very good. So, Colin, apart from another shameless plug, how do people get in touch with you? There's a big sign behind you. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, the Not So Black White Real Estate Podcast. How do people get a hold of you?
They can call me 416-302-2210 or follow me on social media. Anyone on social media, Sir Colin Campbell.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Svetlana. Thanks for watching, and thank you everyone for watching. Okay, as I said at the beginning of the show, this is our backup platform. I need to learn how to click some buttons, but this has been another. Hang on, I'm going to get to it. Yeah, another episode of KWRC TV, where you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. I didn't say it. I got the right name in. And also on your podcast player of choice. Everyone, for Sir Colin Campbell, thanks for being here. And of course, for Jen Silbernagel, I'm Gary McGowan. Have an awesome week. We'll see everyone next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.